liabilities because there is a grand confluence, and it's called the trend line. It's the trend line. All right, here we go. Break it down, the trend line on all the major indices, and then we're going to continue to zoom in on those altcoins. We have set the stage. We have talked about where we are in the cycle, where we are with regards to Elliott waves, where we are with regards to an ABC correction in a 14-year bull cycle. Like, we have set the stage. We have zoomed way out. We're zooming back in today because now we have the trend line to talk about and the implications of the trend line. So on Bitcoin, first the trend line, set the bar here. Break out, set the bar even further, set the bar even further. Here we are now. We've broken out of the furthest trend line here, and we're coming maybe to test the top, maybe going to come test back down here. Who even knows? Doesn't really matter, but you have that specific continuation. And I'll just point out, Bitcoin had that November 10th top, but around November 10th, throughout all the major indices, we'll see that November 10th was a topping point for a lot of the major large market cap assets like Bitcoin, Dow Jones. So let's take a look at Dow Jones real quick, see about this same trend line. Look at, there it is, right? So this one goes back to January 5th. So Dow Jones had more upside after Bitcoin finished its upside, but look at how clearly it formed that trend line back to February 9th. And then it's like breaking right out, coming back to test it for that wave 4 down, right? Like, if this is actually, in fact, potentially a wave 4 down, well, it's a perfect confluence of just testing that trend line and then finding support and closing the week above it. I mean, this is the hourly chart for the Dow Jones, but look at the daily chart. You can see this was a pretty bullish week for the Dow Jones, right? Look at that. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, right? That looks good, right? That's a big answer. And it's finding support on top of that trend line. The volume implies, like, this is relatively low volume. The volume implies we may come down a little bit more to test that trend line, potentially bringing Bitcoin down to test its trend line, right? And that's all good. These are buying opportunities. I actually do anticipate we're going to get some buying opportunities. I actually sold Zcash prematurely. I sold in the strength on Zcash prematurely because I anticipated that we're coming into a pullback phase here because of what I just showed you about the trend line retests. And I still stand by that. I think Zcash is ripping, but I do think you're starting to see Maker, right? Maker's clearly broken out of that same trend line. This is the trend line. Everybody's hooked up on the trend line. Some have broken out, some have not broken out. We may come back to test, we may not, but this could be, like, for Maker, it's hard to say that this isn't a masterful entry point if you're prepared to buy a little bit lower to get that trend line retest. But one of the things we got to remember is when we break out of these trend lines, that's a really big sentiment shift throughout the market. And that sentiment shift could lead to some irrational behavior. And just as simple as you might not come back to test the trend line, right? This thing might just rip, It literally could. Maker is exactly set up to make a significant move here. So we'll see how this plays out. This is super interesting. Like, we're in like that golden moment of accumulation opportunity just outside of a trend line break for some of these coins. Definitely going to draw attention to Bond here because Bond is a perfect example of a perfect trend line breakout setup here. Look at this thing, right? So is this going to come to test? But look how this is like the strongest Bond rally you've ever seen. The volume is increasing. You have a foreshadow of something like this happening here. And you know what? Let's look at Bond in the context of some Elliott wave correction things that are going on, right? Because Bond, I don't know if you can see it, but it's obviously still aligned with all of those, big market indexes that have this same trend line breakout effect, right? Bond is just a variation on that same theme. And these are all ABC corrections, like, they have their own variations on the theme of ABC corrections, but the Bond one to me is pretty clear, right? So A, B, there you go. There you go, the top of wave B, and then the wave C right here. See that heart wrencher? Look at that Bond heart wrencher. That was vicious, right? That was absolutely devastating. But that is a pretty good C heart wrencher for you, and then followed by a trend line breakout. that's exactly what we want to see. Obviously, I'm not going to exactly buy bond right now. I was buying it all the way down like a maniac, right? That's what I do. And that's crazy. Like if I'm buying bond up here at $15, I don't feel like an idiot if it goes all the way down to $6. That doesn't, I just buy the whole way down. I don't question how low it can go. And instead I just understand the lower it goes relative to the local high is setting up a Fibonacci structure. But this is the all-time high for bond. And, it's come down, look at that. Absurd. Absolutely absurd. I mean, most people are so out of this, right? But look at that patience. I mean, that patience is rewarded here. I feel safe in my position here. I don't have to worry about selling or buying right here. I'm just seeing this thing play out. I'm obviously optimistic that it's broken the classic trend line. Let's look at NewCipher, for a similar thing. Look how freaking close this thing is, right? To breaking out of this trend line. Oh my God. This is the daily chart, but just a couple more candles and you're going to get a massive self-fulfilling prophecy that's set up. And what happened last time NewCipher did, it's like NewCipher sort of literally anticipated its trend line breakout, right? And it shot up straight into the trend line breakout, like, where you would have thought, oh, there's going to be a few more bars before we kind of get there. But nope, it just anticipated it, and if all of the same reasons I've been buying NewCipher are still true, which obviously they are, then, NewCipher is extremely set up to fulfill a basic self-fulfilling prophecy right here on a trend line breakout. And then just look at this. It's happening all around too with these, the meme stocks. It's happening all over the stock market. I mean, legendary trend line testing. I mean, AMC, legendary trend line testing. It doesn't mean, we haven't broken out yet, so, we can't get too excited yet. But I mean, it's just like, it's a great confluence where you can clearly see the same trend line that everything is sort of aligned to, right? Here it is again. Look at all this stuff. So this is our UMA. So much consolidation, so steady here. I mean, this is probably setting up to rip. I mean, this is the beginning of altcoin season. This is what I mean when it's the beginning of altcoin season, where it's like, these are setups, these are trend reversal setups. I mean, Dash, it's going to come up here. It's got to test this trend line, but that's probably where it's working its way toward. Might get rejected or whatever, hang out, whatever. But now you kind of see everybody's getting sucked up to this trend line here. I've talked about this stock a little bit. I mean, this is a thing of immaculate beauty. I mean, look at that. Holy crap. This one is right on deck. Because look how far this one. This is like a hilarious joke of a situation where this thing literally went up to $38, fell all the way down here, left us all these beautiful Fibonacci implications. But then the structure that it formed is just like insanely bullish, like where it reversed down here, reversed somewhere on this level, obviously set that one more punishing low, but, within an uptrend, right? Like within an uptrend. And now we're crossing through that massive trend line that goes way far back. I think you're going to start to see some explosive moves here. Look at that. XLM. Perfect. Look at that thing. That is so good, right? Holy crap. You might still come down and test it, but now you know that if you come down and test, that's the greatest buying opportunity you'll ever see, potentially in a lifetime. And I will emphasize that this setup here, it's important to realize this is once in a lifetime, right? We have never seen anything like this. We can't expect to see anything like this maybe ever again. So you're going to make your big windfall on this, and then it's going to be a different way of thinking, literally probably for the rest of your life as a market participant. So this is going to be rare. Just look for those basics Fibonacci prophecies to be fulfilled, just like the precedent was set in previous bull runs for altcoins, right? We've already gone into that. I'm not going to go back into it today, but I encourage you to go back to look at the 2017 into the 2018 blow off top for altcoins. Look what Fibonacci levels they respected. Also keep in mind that things like XLM, XRP, Dash, Zcash, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, OMG, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. A lot of these have not broken their 2018 all-time high. That is a big point to consider, because Bitcoin broke through all of its previous all-time highs by a lot. So we're saying that once Bitcoin dominance falls, below that 40% level and the Bitcoin bubble pops at the same time that new people are buying Bitcoin for whatever macro big world geopolitic reasons that they are, but notice that confluence, right? Notice the news starting to align with what we're seeing on the chart. I mean, obviously, I'll bring this up. What happened when Bitcoin broke out of this trend line? Do you remember? Well, there was news that broke that Russia is now accepting Bitcoin for oil, right? Oh, great, right? Oh, see it right on the chart. So you have this perfect confluence of like world narrative that's setting up with our Fibonacci's, right? So keep that in mind. It's really like, whoa, the clock works for real. And that's why you want to look back in the history of what altcoins did in Bitcoin's retracement, because that is the main self-fulfilling prophecy that we're dealing with here. We're dealing with, there is an expectation that this is going to do something similar to what it did last time. So it's really good to be familiar with that, but also be really open to the complexity that it might not be totally exactly similar, right? So that's where you got to learn your Elliott waves. We haven't got into harmonic patterns. We're going to literally harmonic patterns. Harmonic freaking patterns. Yeah, this is a real thing. I am not going to get into this today, but obviously they're come down to Fibonacci's. They're just like a more specified variation on the Fibonacci's that we've talked about. But the only reason I bring this up is because harmonic patterns use Fibonacci's, but I think what's more important than harmonic patterns with regard to the cryptocurrency market is the history. The history of the cryptocurrency market can tell us a lot more than harmonic patterns, but I am bringing up there is this very well-established concept in trading or investing that is known as the harmonic pattern concept, and these harmonic patterns are just Fibonacci ratios, and I think it just goes to show that Fibonacci's do have gravity. The price action wants to reach these Fibonacci levels. So if we look at history and we look at Fibonacci levels that have occurred in history, we can get a sense of which Fibonacci levels are relevant right now. The notion of harmonic patterns essentially just corroborate the power of Fibonacci, right? Fibonacci acts as a magnet. It magnetizes price action. These Fibonacci represents relevant points for price action. But where it comes into the self-fulfilling prophecy is that all of the previous relevant points for price action in history are more relevant the more times they happen, right? So that's the nature of the self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have to look at unique historical patterns relative to Fibonacci. It's all about asking yourself, are the conditions set for these prophecies to be fulfilled? And that's exactly what they are. They're exactly set, right? Big also news, you have ExxonMobil announcing that they're mining Bitcoin now. So huge news for crypto on this trendline breakout that seems to corroborate with Dow Jones also having a trendline breakout here and working its way up to a 702. So, yeah, it's just a perfect alignment, really. And I also still stand by all these wave counts here, of course, I mean, they see, right? Why wouldn't I? They're literally doing exactly what I would have thought, right? You have an ABC correction. You got see the heart wrencher, February 24th, the day that Russia invades Ukraine. And then you start wave 1. Wave 2 comes almost all the way down to where wave 1 started. Wave 3 up rips really freaking hard. And then you're getting the obvious pullback, and it happens to align with retesting this trend line that goes back to January 6th. I mean, that's the freaking clockwork universe. And obviously, it wouldn't be a white knuckle report if I didn't look at the freaking DXY, especially when the DXY is doing exactly what I want it to do, right? It's coming back to test its own 702, and look, it's getting a lot of pressure at its local 702 level, right? It's just, I mean, it's getting a bit of rejection there, and that makes sense, right? It rejected the macro 702. It might be rejecting the micro 702. That foreshadows Bitcoin may also be rejecting its micro 702 as well, because we've talked about the three-headed reversal structure that we're setting up for, the reversal of a massive grand cycle where Bitcoin started its existence at the same time that the Dow Jones started a 5-wave move off of the financial crisis, right? 2009 was this massive reversal, shift in thinking for literally financial markets, because now you have cryptocurrency. You have another market that just ran alongside the Dow Jones, taking free money out of it because the market caps were so small in the beginning of Bitcoin, where it's like, if you were making tons of money in the Dow Jones, why wouldn't you take it out and buy Bitcoin when the market cap is like 2 million, right? But we can do that now with things like TRB. And I will just point out, TRB is classic trend line. It's doing the trend line breakout. Look at this. Look at that. That is too good, right? So it's like, whoa, that might be literally like some of the best buying ever, because it might have a small breakout when it establishes it's through that trend line. It might have a small breakout. So you're super early if you're buying TRB right now. And of course, I'm freaking buying all the way down. I don't question it. New cipher, it's getting so close. That's looking really good. And bond looking really, really good. I mean, let's keep our eyes on the prize here. Let's look for those 702s. And, it's good. I mean, I'm like, it's really good, dude. It's like, it's what we've been waiting for. So good. It's just a perfect confluence. It's just a great time to be alive, dude. It's a great time to be looking at the charts, dude. It's a great time to be rooting for the upside.